Are you exhausted? Every single day, stupid people surround you, your boss who makes idiotic decisions, your family members who refuse to listen, your so-called friends on WhatsApp groups who argue like children, endless trolls on social media who drag you into pointless battles. They steal your time, drain your energy, and slowly murder your peace of mind. You feel your intelligence being punished simply for existing. Today, I am going to solve this problem for you forever. By the end of this video, you will never again waste a single second on a fool. You will become untouchable. Welcome to the dark art of power. Imagine this. You wake up every morning already knowing the battlefield ahead. Not some distant war, but the quiet, relentless one that plays out in offices, family gatherings, WhatsApp groups, comment sections, meetings that drag on forever. Everywhere you turn, there they are, the fools. Not the cartoonish idiots from movies, no. These are the everyday ones. The colleague who repeats the same bad idea like it's scripture. The relative who argues against facts because feelings feel stronger. The online stranger who types walls of nonsense with absolute conviction. They don't just exist, they swarm. They demand your attention, your energy, your patience. And if you're not careful, they pull you down into their mud. But here's the secret: the truly intelligent have always known, the one Schopenhauer carved into stone long ago. You don't have to fight them. You don't even have to engage. First, you have to see them clearly. Recognition isn't politeness, it's survival. Let me take you deeper. Schopenhauer didn't mince words about human nature. He saw stupidity not as a rare flaw, but as the default setting for most of mankind. He wrote that a stupid person has no insight into the connection of things, natural phenomena, causes and effects, hidden motives, the way people quietly conspire or manipulate. They miss it all. Them, the world is a blur of disconnected events, magic, miracles, coincidences that aren't coincidences at all. They believe whatever flatters their ego or soothes their fear. They don't apply the law of causality with any speed or sharpness. Their understanding is dull, slow, blunt. And because it's dull, they charge ahead with certainty where wiser men hesitate. Think about it. How many times have you watched someone dismiss evidence because it doesn't feel right? How often does a person repeat a lie so confidently that others start nodding along? That's not ignorance waiting to be educated. That's stupidity in full armor, cocksure, loud, unshakable. Schopenhauer observed that the stupid readily believe in the impossible because they lack the keenness to trace causes. They don't see agreements behind independent actions. They miss concealed motives in advice, in opinions, in smiles that hide daggers. One thing only is missing in them: rapidity and ease in grasping reality as it is. And here's where your power begins. The intelligent man doesn't wait for stupidity to announce itself with fireworks. He spots the signs in seconds. The moment logic bends to emotion, the instant repetition replaces reasoning. The second someone gets heated over a fact instead of questioning it, alarm bells ring in your mind. Fool detected. No debate needed, no second chances to prove themselves. Proof is for the naive who still believe people can be fixed with explanation. You know better. In the game of life, as Machiavelli would remind us from the shadows, a prince who cannot identify his enemies at first glance is already defeated. Fools are not enemies in the traditional sense. They don't plot your downfall with cunning. Their danger is worse. They waste you. They drain your most precious resource, time and mental clarity, turning sharp minds into blunted tools through endless, pointless friction. So you train yourself to see them instantly. Like a predator senses weakness in prey, the loud voice masking emptiness, the stubborn refusal to listen, the emotional outburst disguised as passion. These are not quirks. These are red flags waving in your face. Schopenhauer went further. He said that in dealing with fools and blockheads, there is only one way of showing your intelligence: by having nothing to do with them. Consider how Sordid, how vulgar, how utterly stupid most men are, he warned. To mingle too closely is to become vulgar yourself, even for a moment. The intelligent man doesn't lower himself to their level for sake of civility or false harmony. He recognizes that vulgarity is contagious. One conversation with a blockhead, and you feel the dullness creeping in, the frustration dulling your edge. Picture your mind as a fortress. Fools are siege engines at the gates, not because they're strong, but because they're persistent and noisy. If you open the gates to argue or explain, they flood in. But if you spot them from the walls, from afar, clearly, without illusion, you never need to engage. Recognition becomes your first line of defense. It's quiet, it's ruthless, it's efficient, and once you master this, everything changes. You stop feeling punished for being intelligent. You stop wasting breath on people who can't receive it. You preserve your energy for what matters: real ideas, real allies, real power. The fools remain, yes, they always will, but now they are visible, predictable, harmless. You see them coming from a mile away, and you simply step aside, let that sink in. Battlefield isn't won by fighting every skirmish. It's won by refusing to enter the wrong ones, and it all starts here with crystal clear, unforgiving recognition. You've already spotted the fool. The signs flashed like warning lights: emotion overriding logic, repetition masquerading as reasoning, certainty without foundation. Now comes the moment most people fail. They step forward, they open their mouth, they try to correct, to explain, to prove, and in that instant they hand the fool the victory they crave, because arguing with a fool is not a contest of ideas. It is surrender disguised as battle. Schopenhauer laid it bare with brutal clarity. He devoted an entire work, The Art of Being Right, to exposing the dirty tricks people use to appear victorious in disputes, not because they seek truth, but because they hunger for the feeling of being right. He knew something most refuse to accept. The average person does not argue to discover what is true. They argue to defend their ego, to crush opposition, to feel superior for a fleeting second. And the fool is the purest embodiment of that drive. Untethered by reason, armored only in stubbornness, they turn every exchange into a mud wrestling match where the only rule is drag everyone down. Picture it: you present facts clear as crystal, the fool counters with feelings, you cite evidence, they shout louder. You try logic, they twist words, change the subject, attack your character. Suddenly you're no longer discussing reality, you're defending yourself against nonsense. Your pulse rises, your thoughts scatter. You waste minutes, hours, days replaying the exchange in your head, frustrated, angry, diminished. That is the trap. The fool doesn't need to win on merit. They win by making you play their game. They drag you to their level, where experience in stupidity counts more than intelligence ever could. And once you're there, they beat you, not with better arguments, but with sheer relentlessness. Machiavelli would sneer at anyone foolish enough to accept that invitation. A prince does not duel with peasants in the street. He does not soil his blade on unworthy opponents. He preserves his strength for real threats, for battles that matter. Arguing with a fool is the opposite of strategy. It is self-sabotage. You lower yourself voluntarily. You grant them the arena they desperately need to feel relevant. You feed their illusion of importance, and in return, nothing, no conversion, no insight. Only exhaustion and the bitter taste of wasted potential. Schopenhauer warned us directly: the only intelligent response to blockheads is to have nothing to do with them. Engage and you prove nothing except your own vulnerability. Refuse and you demonstrate mastery. Silence isn't weakness here, it's contempt. Walking away isn't retreat, it's supremacy. The fool expects resistance. Denial starves them. They thrive on reaction. Strip it away, and they flail in void, exposed as empty. Think of the times you've argued and come away feeling smaller. The pointless debates that left you drained while the other person strutted away unchanged, even prouder. That's the mechanism at work. Every second you spend justifying yourself to someone incapable of understanding is a theft from your own life. Your mind, sharp and rare, gets dulled by friction with dullness. Your time, finite and valuable, gets squandered on noise. The intelligent do not negotiate with mediocrity. They do not bargain with ignorance. They recognize the asymmetry. You have something to lose: clarity, peace, progress. The fool has nothing worth protecting. This is why refusal is power. By declining the fight, you keep the high ground. You remain sovereign over your attention. You deny them the oxygen of conflict that sustains their ego. They may rage. They may accuse you of arrogance or cowardice. But those barbs bounce off because you never entered the ring. The world sees it too quietly over time. The one who refuses pointless battles gains an aura of untouchability. Others notice. Respect follows not from winning arguments, but from never needing to prove anything to inferiors. So when the fool beckons with their bait outrage, provocation, endless what-ifs, remember this: the greatest victory is the one never fought. Let them shout into emptiness. Let their words echo back unanswered. Your silence roars louder than any retort. Your detachment cuts deeper than any insult. In refusing to argue, you do not lose, you transcend. The fool remains chained to their own foolishness. You walk free. You've seen the fool. You've refused the bait of argument. Now the real art begins. Not in confrontation, not in victory through noise, but in something far subtler, far more powerful: controlled distance. Schopenhauer gave this principle its perfect image, one so precise it feels like a blade hidden in velvet. He called it the porcupine dilemma. Imagine a winter day, bitter cold, the kind that seeps into bone. A group of porcupines huddles together for warmth. At first it feels good shared heat against the freeze, but soon spines prick. The closer they press, the more they wound each other. Pain forces them apart. They drift, shiver again, edge back in. They repeat this dance until they discover the exact distance. Near enough to survive the cold, far enough to avoid bleeding. Too close brings injury, too far brings death by freezing. That precise gap is their law of existence. Schopenhauer did not invent this metaphor for animals. He wrote it for us, for human society, for every interaction where warmth, connection, cooperation, affection carries hidden spines, and nowhere are those spines sharper than in dealings with fools. Their stupidity is not passive, it is barbed. It stabs through careless proximity, the endless complaints that drain you, the irrational demands that pull you off course. Emotional volatility that infects your calm, the petty dramas that turn your clarity into fog. Get too close and you bleed, not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly, steadily, drop by drop. Your patience frays, your focus dulls, your inner peace erodes. You start to resemble them, even if only in exhaustion. The intelligent man understands this instinctively. He does not seek isolation for its own sake. He is not a hermit fleeing the world. He simply refuses to freeze or to bleed. He finds the exact distance where he can observe, where he can benefit if there is benefit to be had, where he can fulfill obligations without surrendering his sovereignty. Politeness at arm's length, a nod when required, a brief word when silence would seem cruel, but never more. Never the embrace, never the huddle, because every extra inch of closeness invites another prick. Machiavelli would approve of this discipline. A prince must appear approachable yet remain untouchable. He mingles when it serves power, withdraws when it preserves it. He never allows inferiors to presume familiarity, because familiarity breeds contempt, and contempt from below is the first crack in any fortress. The fool by nature presumes. He wants your full attention, your full reaction, your full involvement in his chaos. Give it and you hand him the reins to your own mind, maintain distance, and you retain command. You decide how much warmth to share, how much light to let in. You control the temperature of every encounter. This is not coldness for its own sake. It is strategy. Distance protects your most valuable assets: mental sharpness, emotional reserve, uninterrupted thought. When you stand just beyond the reach of spines, you see clearly. You hear the fool's nonsense without it echoing inside your skull. You watch their self-inflicted wounds without being splashed by the blood. You remain free to act, to plan, to advance while they remain tangled in their own barbs. Practice it deliberately. In the office, keep conversations short and factual, never personal. With family members who provoke, offer courtesy but no debate, no deep explanations, no emotional investment. On social media, mute, restrict, scroll past, do not feed the cycle. In every sphere, ask yourself, am I warm enough to function, yet far enough to stay unharmed? Adjust accordingly. The adjustment becomes second nature. Soon you move through crowds of fools like a shadow, present when useful, absent when dangerous, always sovereign. The beauty of the porcupine strategy lies in its quiet ruthlessness. No one can accuse you of cruelty when you simply maintain a reasonable space. No one can claim you are aloof when you still nod, still speak when necessary, yet you are untouchable. Their spines never reach you, their cold never freezes you. You survive the winter stronger, clearer, more powerful, because you mastered the one law fools can never learn, the precise art of staying just far enough away. You have seen the fool, you have refused the pointless duel, you have mastered the precise distance that keeps their spines from your flesh. Now comes the fourth law, the one that turns defense into dominion, silence into a weapon sharper than any sword. This is where true intelligence stops surviving and starts ruling. Turn their stupidity into your silent weapon. Schopenhauer understood that most men waste their lives reacting, shouting back at noise, correcting what cannot be corrected, pouring energy into voids that only grow hungrier. But the prince, the man who plays the long game, does something far more lethal. He withdraws, not out of fear, not out of defeat, out of calculation. He removes his presence, his attention, his reaction. And in that removal, he creates a vacuum that the fool cannot resist filling, with more foolishness, more exposure, more self-destruction. Consider how the fool operates. Their power depends entirely on your engagement. They need your outrage to feel alive. They need your argument to feel clever. They need your attention to feel seen. Deny them all of it and watch what happens. At first they push harder, louder words, bolder provocations, desperate attempts to provoke the response they crave. When that fails, frustration boils over. They double down on absurdity. They make mistakes they would never make under scrutiny. They reveal their pettiness, their ignorance, their weakness to everyone watching, and everyone is watching. The world notices the one-sided spectacle, one side screaming into silence, the other side simply absent. This is the beauty of the strategy. You do nothing overt, you speak no insult, you launch no attack. You simply vanish from their orbit. Silence becomes accusation. Absence becomes judgment. The fool, left alone with their echo, amplifies their own flaws until they become impossible to ignore. Colleagues see the tantrum and distance themselves. Family members witness the irrationality and withdraw support. Online followers scroll past the meltdown and unfollow. The fool destroys themselves not because you struck them, but because you refused to hold up the mirror they needed to hide behind. Your non-participation forces them to face their own reflection, and fools cannot bear that gaze. Machiavelli would recognize this immediately. He taught that the wise ruler often achieves more by what he withholds than by what he gives. Appear when it benefits you. Disappear when it weakens them. Never squander force on the unworthy. Let time and their own nature do the work. The intelligent man understands that victory does not always require action. Sometimes the most devastating move is inaction. Let the fool overextend. Let them expose every crack in their armor. While they thrash, you conserve strength, observe patterns, position yourself for real opportunities. Their noise becomes background static. Their drama becomes entertainment for those who once took them seriously. And quietly, without fanfare, your stature rises. People gravitate toward calm. They respect restraint. They fear the one who never needs to prove anything. Apply it ruthlessly in daily life. When the colleague spouts nonsense in the meeting, offer no rebuttal, nod once, then shift focus elsewhere. The group chat erupts in pointless debate. Leave it on read. The family member demands justification for your boundaries. Provide none, change the subject or exit the room. Each time you withhold reaction, you tighten the noose they've tied around themselves. They feel the absence like a wound. They compensate with excess, revealing more with every desperate step. Soon the pattern is clear to all. Their words carry no weight because no intelligent mind dignifies them. This weapon costs you nothing. It demands no energy. It risks no escalation. Yet it delivers disproportionate results. The fool's ego, once fed by your attention, starves and collapses under its own weight. Their influence shrinks. Their credibility evaporates, and you stand apart, untouched, unruffled, elevated by the very contrast. Others see it. They learn from it. They begin to imitate your detachment, widening the circle of fools left isolated in their own chaos. The silent withdrawal is not passive. It is predatory. It uses the fool's greatest strength, their inability to stop, against them. They cannot help but fill the silence you create, and in filling it, they hand you the win without a single move on your part. Power, real power, is never loud. It is the shadow that grows longer, while the fool burns himself out in the light. So here we stand at the end of the path, 4 laws carved from the cold stone of reality, 4 weapons forged for the intelligent man who refuses to be dragged down by the mediocrity that surrounds him. First, you learn to recognize the fool instantly, no hesitation, no second guessing, no polite illusions. The moment emotion drowns logic, the instant certainty replaces curiosity, your mind lights the warning, danger present. You see them clearly now, and that clarity alone has already begun to free you. Then came refusal, the brutal truth that arguing with a fool is not debate, it is surrender. You no longer step into their arena. You do not soil your mind in their mud. You deny them the fight they crave, the reaction they feed on. In that single act of walking away, you claim a victory most men never taste, sovereignty over your own attention. Next, the porcupine strategy. You mastered the exact distance close enough to function in the world, far enough to remain unharmed. No more bleeding from careless proximity, no more freezing in unnecessary isolation. You control the warmth, the space, the terms of every encounter. Their spines never reach you again. And finally, the silent weapon. You withdraw not in weakness, but in calculated power. You let their own noise become their noose. You remove your presence, your reaction, your energy, and watch as they overextend, expose themselves, collapse under the weight of their emptiness. Silence becomes louder than any insult. Absence becomes sharper than any blade. While they burn out in the spotlight of their own foolishness, you rise untouched, respected, elevated by contrast alone. These are not gentle suggestions. They are laws of power. Apply them starting the moment this video ends. In the next meeting where nonsense is spoken, recognize and refuse. In the family gathering where drama erupts, maintain distance. In the endless scroll of outrage, withdraw completely. Each small refusal, each measured step back, each deliberate silence compounds. Day by day, your time returns to you. Your energy sharpens. Your mind becomes a fortress no fool can breach. The world will not change. Fools will always be among us, loud, persistent, certain of their own importance. But you no longer pay the price for their existence. You no longer punish yourself for being intelligent in a sea of dullness. You become untouchable, not because you are cruel, but because you are awake. If this resonates, if you are tired of being drained, tired of pointless battles, tired of feeling your potential leak away on the unworthy, then act on it now. Hit that like button if you commit to never arguing with fools again. Subscribe if you want more of these dark, practical truths that actually move the needle in your life. Share this with the one person you know who needs to hear it most. This is not philosophy for dreamers. This is strategy for those who choose to rule their own existence. The choice has always been yours. Now make it. The fools will keep talking. Let them. You have better things to do.